Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever wished you could literally read a project's vital signs exactly like a doctor reads a patient's medical chart? Well, today we're going to learn how to do just that using visual radiators to diagnose the health of your projects.
So, let's dive into this critical question. How do you actually know if a project is failing before it's too late? Too often, teams don't realize a project is in critical condition until the deadline is already blown. We are going to fix that today by transforming some pretty dense PMP and agile tracking metrics into a highly actionable diagnostic toolkit. Here's our diagnostic checklist for today. First, taking your project's pulse. Second, agile radiators and sprint health. Third, visualizing flow and capacity. Fourth, predictive charts and quality. Fifth, managing resource allocation. And finally, putting together the ultimate diagnostic toolkit. Let's start right off with Section 1, establishing the big picture, taking your project's pulse. Consider this your high-level cheat sheet for all the trend charts we are going to unpack today. Notice how it breaks everything down into agile, Kanban, predictive, quality, and resource management. We're going to zoom right in on these specific areas to decode exactly what all these lines and bands are actually telling us.
Moving on to Section 2, Agile Radiators and Sprint Health. Since Agile sprints move fast, we'll start by checking in on short-term project health.
We have to start with the classics. On the left, you've got the burn-down chart, which tracks remaining work against time, ideally trending straight downwards towards zero. That makes it absolutely perfect for daily monitoring. On the right, the burn-up chart tracks completed work against a total scope line, which is ideal for those multi-sprint releases where goals might shift around a bit.
So, the crucial point for a daily burn-down chart is reading its symptoms. You have this ideal trend line drawing a path to zero. If your actual remaining work line sits above that ideal line, you've just diagnosed that your team is behind. But if the line dips below the ideal path, your team is ahead of schedule. It is an instant, powerful daily health check to see if your sprint commitment is on track. Conversely, on a burn-up chart, the completed work line moves up as the team gets things done. But you really have to look at the top line, the total scope. If you see that total scope line moving up over time, boom, you've just diagnosed scope creep. It perfectly explains why a target date might be slipping, even if the team's output is fantastic.
Let's hit Section 3, Visualizing Flow and Capacity, where we predict long-term workflow.
Now, if you're working in Kanban or any continuous flow environment, the cumulative flow diagram, or CFD, is going to be your best friend. It stacks work items across states like backlog and progress, review, and done. But here is the real diagnostic rule to remember. If you spot a widening band in any of these states, you have instantly diagnosed a downstream bottleneck. It literally means work in progress is just piling up. To figure out the exact impact of those bottlenecks, we apply Little's Law. It's a surprisingly simple equation. Lead time equals work in progress divided by throughput. The horizontal distance on a CFD actually represents that lead time. So the big takeaway is that by tightly managing your WIP, you directly control how fast items flow through your entire system.
So, how do we prescribe the right capacity commitments? We use these two tools. A velocity chart plots planned versus accepted story points across your sprints. A steady velocity is a great sign. It signals your team is predictable. Over on the right, a cycle time scatter plot plots individual completed items against elapsed calendar days. We use this to set service level expectations, or SLEs, which lets you confidently tell stakeholders things like, hey, we guarantee 85% of our tasks will finish in 5 days or less.
Taking a step back to look at long-term tracking, let's examine Section 4, Predictive Charts and Quality.
For traditional project management, the earned value S-curve is basically your ultimate health monitor. It tracks cumulative planned value, earned value, and actual cost. And it naturally forms that signature S-shape because, well, you inevitably have a slow start, followed by rapid execution in the middle, and then progressive closure right at the end.
From that S-curve, we derive the 4 earned value management performance rules. Schedule variance and schedule performance index track time. Cost variance and cost performance index track budget. Now, here's the absolute golden rule to memorize for these vital signs. Whenever a performance index, SPI or CPI, is greater than 1, that is a positive prognosis. It means you are definitively ahead of schedule or under budget.
Quality obviously needs a pulse check too, which we do with a control chart. This chart measures process stability against an upper control limit, a lower control limit, and a mean. If a data point hits outside those limits, you've got a problem. But the real trick is the rule of 7. Finding 7 consecutive points trending together on one side of the mean or simply ascending or descending consecutively is a major symptom. It's screaming that your process is completely out of control due to some specific underlying issue.
Let's move to Section 5, Managing Resource Allocation, to see how we diagnose the workload placed on the team itself.
Your team's burnout rate is an incredibly critical vital sign. A resource histogram plots allocated hours against project time periods. If you have peaks crossing that maximum capacity threshold line, you've just diagnosed severe overallocation. You're basically asking for more hours than your team actually has.
To treat this overallocation symptom, you've got to prescribe one of 2 remedies. The first is resource leveling. This completely fixes the overallocation, but it extends your project's critical path, meaning your timeline gets longer. The alternative is resource smoothing, which cleverly uses available schedule flow to delay certain tasks without extending the final project deadline. Okay, let's wrap things up with Section 6, the ultimate diagnostic toolkit, pulling everything together.
It is incredibly useful to see how all these vital signs combine into one master view. Whether you're operating in an agile sprint, managing a Kanban flow, or tracking a predictive budget, this master overview connects the visual chart directly to the specific metric and its core diagnostic value.
I highly recommend you treat this overview as your ultimate screenshot-worthy cheat sheet. Look at how elegantly it maps it all out. Need to spot scope creep versus team output? Use a burnup. Need to detect process bottlenecks? Look at your CFD. Need to check if your budget is healthy? Check the earned value S-curve. Every single chart has a specific, powerful diagnostic purpose. So, the final prognosis really comes down to action. We've equipped you with the visual tools to read your project's vital signs before it flatlines. My question to you is, which of these diagnostic metrics are you going to prescribe for your team tomorrow to prevent failure before it happens? Think about it and start taking your project's pulse.